So the Workers' first affiliate is slowly nearing its end, which is kind of sad, not only because this was one of the best sagas in Lookism, if not the best, but also because this is the last Workers arc. Now this being the last Workers arc poses two possibilities for Lookism's future. We all know that the whole reason Daniel Park is gang affiliated in the first place is to slam the four major crews so he can impress TG and finally make him the love of his life. But what if this wasn't the last four major crews arc in Lookism? Yeah, there's quite a lot of arcs left to this manhwa, also a lot of different paths it can go down. So why don't we take a peek into the final saga of Lookism? So as I said again, Daniel's current main goal in Lookism is to unite the four major crews under his name so he can fulfill DG's quest. But just like a lot of things in life, there are a lot of ways this can go down. So following the Allied's vanquishing of the four major crews, there are a lot of arcs that have been either indirectly or directly hinted at throughout Lookism's storyline. And just to clarify, the arcs that I'm about to list are in no way chronological, because, I'm not PTJ. And the first of these arcs being the secret behind the two bodies. You know, I don't think me claiming that this arc is the most anticipated arc in Lookism would be false at all. In fact, it may even be an understatement, because this arc has been hinted at ever since chapter 5, when Daniel woke up in a new body, and somehow has not found out how that has happened until now. And the secret behind the two bodies is one of the bigger debates in the Lookism community, and it is one that Daniel Park himself seems to be a part of, ever since his second body almost died from getting pushed off a building. He was given the identity of James Lee, and that really sparked some curiosity, more than what he had before, on who the fuck the second body is. There really is no way to know what the secret behind the two bodies is, no matter how much we theorize, because at the end of the day only one man knows, and that is PTJ. So ever since DG and Daniel Park met and kind of talked for a bit, DG gave Daniel the quest of uniting the Big Four crew, according to Webtoon. And now this could be taken a lot of ways itself. Some may look at it in the way that Daniel is only going to beat the four major crews and just leave it at that. But I think the more probable meaning that DG put behind this sentence was for Daniel to actually have the four major crews united as one, whether that be under his name or not. Now while this task may have seemed impossible at first, it actually still seems impossible now. No, but seriously though, when it comes to defeating the four major crews, Daniel Park has done just that. He took down God Dog, which is kind of just one guy now, and he took down Hostile B and brought back Hostile A, which is not really gonna try to fuck with him anymore. And the workers have been in the process of getting steamrolled for about 200 episodes. But defeating these guys isn't really the hardest part of this quest. It's convincing every one of these guys not only to work together, which they have done for the first time in 471 chapters just last week, and this is replacing Eugene with Samuel as well, but also convincing every one of these guys to work under him. Now this could be done in other ways. Daniel doesn't necessarily have to be the leader of the four major crews. In fact, I think it's more plausible that it ends up being either DG or Charles Choi, but this still doesn't take away from the fact that these four menace crewheads will have to be convinced enough to work under someone. So how this will happen is too far-fetched to predict for me, but I'll talk more about this later. Now the arcs following the united four major crews that I have listed here aren't all really arcs that are gonna have their own long list of episodes. Most of these arcs are gonna be mini arcs, but that's not to say that Lookism only has two major arcs left. So the pre-generation arc is one that a lot of people have been waiting for quite a while now. And this is for many valid reasons. The biggest of them obviously for me is I want to see Gapyeong's fist members fighting in their prime. And I'd love to see the strength that Gapyeong had on his fists for him to give Jin Young a hard time just copying 3 of his moves. But there's a lot more to this arc than what appears merely on the surface. First of all, if a pre-generation arc does end up happening later down the line of Lookism, it is most likely that we get to see the real reason behind Gapyeong's death, and what exactly is the whole truth behind that situation. And finally, it was mentioned multiple times that in the pre-generation, the whole reason Gapyeong's fist was gathered in the first place was to take down a huge power that was extremely strong at the time. But we never found out who this power was. All we know is that this power required Gapyeong to gather his entire crew in their primes just to take it down. Now Jake's brother is a character that has been hinted at quite a few times in the past couple chapters, and he's a character that we know so very little about. It keeps getting indirectly foreshadowed that he will make his appearance sometime soon, whether it be in the first affiliate arc or a short period after that, but still we know so little about this guy. In fact, the only information that was provided about him was that he is potentially on the level of Prime James Lee, who some may take as the peak of the verse. And he is currently situated in Mexico leading some cartel or something along the lines of that. We also know that he is most certainly the stronger half of Gapyeong's children. Anyway, it's pretty likely that we either get a full-blown arc about this guy, or when he makes his appearance finally, we could also get a little flashback of him going to Mexico or something. I don't see a future of Lookism where this guy doesn't make an appearance though. Now, if this arc were to ever take place, I think it's extremely likely that it happens as a form of a flashback, and Vin Jin comes back from the dead or something. He starts having like flashbacks of his struggles in Xianliang, and then we cut to a whole arc similar to what happened with Hostel in the Eli Jang arc, and then it comes back and he does whatever he's gonna do. But regardless, the Xianliang arc is definitely one I am extremely excited for, not only because it is Vin Jin's flashback, but it seems like an arc that's just a whole lot of fighting considering it's where Taejin came from, and I'd also like to know the origins of MC Pesticides and the other Qianliang dudes altogether. So another Holidays arc I think is pretty much 100% going to happen in the Lookism story, because seeing how the events are playing out, and how Daniel's mom doesn't really want him to be affiliated with Jin Young or anyone for a reason that we don't know of, I think this arc would actually be longer than any of the other Holidays arcs that happened before, and a million times more interesting too. And this is because it's most likely to happen sometimes after Daniel has become a huge prominent figure basically all around Korea. And it would be hard to hide something like that from his mom, especially considering he couldn't even hide it from her last time. But the bigger reason I think this arc would be enjoyable is because his mom's reaction kind of hints towards a past that had Daniel's dad or his family members being affiliated with Jin Young and other members of the pre-generation. And apparently Jin Young did something to Daniel's dad that his grandmother isn't really the happiest about. So it would be extremely interesting to find out what exactly happened, and what I mean by that is who exactly Daniel's dad is and the whole truth behind that situation in general. So what do you guys think the truth behind Daniel's father is?